Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of Cocoa in the Sun podcast. I am your host, Malika Critchlow. Very blessed to be here today. So, I don't have a great many insights today in my own journey of some, but still trying to figure out if what I'm understanding is correct and how to proceed through it is correct. So I think I've been advised on aspects I need to improve on in order to expand. Uh, and these things I need to improve on are not, I know they're in some way related to career and purpose, but they're not. So it's things like work on your confidence, work on being more open-hearted and trusting. But also also with that understanding, right? They're giving me an understanding of just allowing and the time needed to heal. So I'm aware these are things I need to work on, but they're saying take your time with it. It takes time to heal and you can't rush it. So I think the awareness of it kind of contributes to the healing aspect, right? And it's just like with like the sacred union as we're going to read with Judi and Tom. Sometimes there's like no solution or action except to bring it to awareness. And that bringing it to awareness is bringing it to the light and it would transmute um in its own way. I think that's what is being communicated to me. So yeah, so it's like I don't have to rush to do anything to achieve these improvements. I just have to be aware that these are the things that I need to transmute in order to get into a more expanded life, right? They're showing me like I'm moving from an apartment to a bigger two-story living situation, not physically, like it's a metaphorically, but in order for me to do that, I have these things that need looking at. Um, so this expanded place that I would like to move to. Oh, also there's some fears here, right? I am they show me also I have some fears about moving into this expanded space that I also need to work on. So it doesn't say that, it just shows me that it's an expanded space. I would think that this expansion would just not only be, my mental, emotional, and spiritual aspect, but also my physical aspect, right? My physical resources. But it doesn't say that specifically. It's more, you're here and we want you to be over here. Or you could move over here, but these are the things we need to work on for you to get here. And so I'm thinking like once these things are resolved or loved and seen fully, that I don't know, guys, because I'm on this journey, you know, as we speak. So I can't say once this is resolved, then I move into this new expanded version and more of what I want in a physical sense, in my physical reality comes. I suspect, I feel like, yeah, that is kind of, but who knows? Maybe I'll move past this aspect and then there'll be more that I need to work on. It's a ever evolving journey. But maybe even if there's more I need to work on, there would still be a movement into a better space. And then the next step will be, well, these are other things that can move you into even better space and even better way of thinking and even better way of being. So I don't know. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Um, so those are my own personal insights that tell me along my journey. If I generalize it, um, but I don't know if you can generalize journeys because I feel like each journey is specific to each person. But I do feel some people may have similar resonances or similar journeys, right? Patterns. So if I generalize it, I would say that, yeah, they kind of show you this came true in dreams, in my dream state. It's showing me what I need to work on, but also letting me know not to stress about it and just allow the healing to occur on at its own pace, and my own understanding and his it's so true. Anyway, so they're showing me what needs work in order for me to move into the next space of being. And then letting me know that this isn't something I need to stress about or overwhelm myself with in trying to solve. That just the awareness of it seems to have started the transmuting of it, hopefully. Um, and it will heal when I'm ready. I think I'll come to understandings. And then once that's resolved, my life should expand in a new way of being, and then I'm pretty sure I'll have new insights to bring into awareness, and then it'll probably move in a different way as well. That's what I think it is. So I'm getting these insights again through dreams and then trying to interpret the dreams through different resources that I'm using and determining if they resonate with me. Or not. And so using that resonance of this seems true to what I think is going on with me, or I think this is what they mean. And so using my own compass and my own discernment um to see if that's correct, as well as sometimes when I do have the dreams, they do let me know um what they mean for me specifically. I had really also like, when I'm doing stuff that I was telling you about, the connection with watching the sunsets in the shower, things of like when I'm going for walks, things that allow myself quiet time, but quiet time that I'm enjoying. I start thinking about things in an expanded way and really got some uh beautiful understandings or thoughts the last few days. So I know a lot of people were like, oh, the new moon or the full moon, they're getting a lot of, I think we got a lot of downloads. I saw like the Schumann resonance. And to me, it was really beautiful and expanded. It didn't feel overwhelming. There was some ebbs and flows um that I'm still like working through, but it didn't feel intense. It just felt really, really beautiful. And the last full moon too, I had the same thing. I do have ebbs and flows, but the ebbs are a little more gentle. They're not as intense, and I usually counter it when I'm having it myself. So it's been so far quite beautiful for me. Um, so really beautiful insights on the lessons I've had in my life and the teachers of those lessons and the perspective on its own. That's why I think the healing, I don't think I could force the healing or be like, I want to heal this right now. I think I could set the intention. Okay, yeah, I want to work on, say it's my confidence. I really want to work on my confidence. Um, and I think I just have to set that intention and allow the understanding for how to improve that to come on its own. So I'll give you an example. I didn't even set the intention for these things. And it was just so beautiful and how the perspective changed. So childhood experiences. I don't want to say traumas anymore. They weren't, at some point they were traumatic and I had to see them in another way, like lessons. And this week this was in the shower, how beautiful those lessons are and the teachers that taught them. Whereas before it was like, okay, I can forgive this person, and understand that they had their own life experiences, which then framed their view of life this way. And then this is why my interaction with them was this way. And so I was able to prior validate my own experience and know that it helped me grow and it taught me what I wanted for myself, what I didn't want for myself. Um, Discernment, what uh what spaces I enjoyed and what energies I enjoyed from what I didn't enjoy, how to authentically, in a loving way, speak up for myself and set boundaries and stuff like that. So the lessons were there, but also an allowance of grace for that person for teaching me that lesson. So that's where I was before. But this week, the lessons just came through as they were so beautiful. So my view of the things now and the people that were integral to those lessons being taught, now I just see them as beautiful teachers and the lessons as being beautiful. And the lessons are no longer like separated into individual things, but now it's just like, wow, that was a beautiful experience. That was such a beautiful space and time. And those were such beautiful lessons I learned and expanded me in such a beautiful way. And they were such beautiful teachers, and I'm so grateful that I selected those teachers to teach me these lessons because they taught it in the best way for me to fully understand it, to fully feel it. I'm just really grateful, really, really grateful for them and for the lessons. Whereas before, I was able to transmit, like I said, in a way where I was able to validate myself and love myself too, and be grateful for the lessons and also for give grace to them. But this was like another level of it's just all so beautiful, and I'm so blessed to have experienced it. And I'm so blessed with the teachers that I had. Like I can't believe I had such beautiful such good teachers. So, and that happened on its own spontaneously while I was taking a shower. It wasn't something I intended for. I just think I was just ready to expand in that way, and it occurred. So I think being aware of what needs healing, I'm really grateful for, because they are communicating and letting me know. But also that I don't think, and I have sovereignty in it. My sovereignty is in there somewhere. But I also feel like when I'm ready, naturally, it'll flow naturally. And it's not something I could action upon for an outcome. I don't know how the readiness is noted and occurs. But so that, and then I had experiences in my dream state, one of intense, oh, not intense, beautiful love for myself and enjoying being in love with myself. It was weird. It was weird, but so beautiful. I was just, I wasn't concerned with anyone else and just in how beautiful it felt to be me in all the ways that I could be me, in all the ways I can sense my being. Um, so that was a dream state. And the other thing I had in a dream state was I had a really beautiful understanding of what it was that I loved about an aspect of growing up in Trinidad and how the people connect. And it was such a beautiful, I'm saying beautiful a lot, but it was beautiful. I stood on it. How else to describe it? And it was feelings, but deep feelings, very deep, knowing, but subtle and gentle feelings. And it just flavored my day most beautifully. So I'm really great. And I don't know what caused these experiences to occur. But they feel like teachings of what makes life beautiful and how to make it beautiful, right? So, yeah, this full moon has been quite expansive in the depth of beauty seen through the eyes of love. I think, yeah. Love is really a beautiful experience. I don't think we've even touched the surface of how amazing it can feel. And they're giving me these experiences of it. It's like they can't give me for a very long time though. Like I'm getting like glimpses and tastes, but it's enough that I can't forget the feeling and I remember it in my core. That's being said, I still have issues with my abs, which I think is all part of the refinement process of wanting and intentioning for aspects of how I would like my life or how I would like to experience my life. Also understanding how the flow works. So it looks to me, it seems like you get what you need when you need it. Doesn't seem to be an accumulation of what you need stockpiled. It seems to be a relationship of trust and knowing you're going to get what you need when you need it. This builds the trust with your spiritual aspects, your divine team. Um and it builds your patience. It builds your patience, your faith, your trust in getting what you need when you need it. But it feels like definition of what abundance is changing. So abundance prior to this experience would be for me having stockpiled all that I need, and when I need it, I just have so much of it and I just replenish it, right? I was like, oh, just I use this, so let me get some more of this. But I still have like a ton of it there, but I just don't want to ever run out. So that, and this seems to be an understanding of when you need it, you will get it. And you don't need to stockpile. Um, you don't need to hoard. You don't need, um, so that appears to be how this flow thing is working. It's like a trust, faith, patience, divine timing, knowing, confidence building thing, relationship with your divine team and what you need. Yeah. So, and then that increasing your resources increasing incrementally. This is what my experience is. It's not everybody's experience. I think it may have to do how I like to experience things. Or maybe I just haven't broken the code yet on how to have a massive downpour of huge physical resources. But it feels like it's increasing incrementally. But in doing so, I am paying attention more to what I really enjoy or want instead of fear-based. Let me stop by, let me stop by, let me stop by. So it does feel like I am a little more thoughtful about what I want to experience. And there's time in, are you sure you want to experience that? Are you really sure you want this experience? It's not a rushed thing. It's not a rushed thing. It's not a rushed thing. Okay? Definitely not a rushed thing. More of a take your time and think about, feel into it. Is this really something you want? Or you think you want? Or you want it because of fear? So that seems to be another aspect of this whole flow thing and how abundance works for me. So there was an ebb and flow with that because I was like, well, kind of liked how stockpiling stuff was, you know. But this way maybe, this way I'm seeing maybe even better because it builds the trust. So you don't have any fear and you just know when you need things, it'll come into play. Another ebb and flow is, so it has to do with that. And pace again, in which the resources are growing. So I'm taking care of them and my needs are met. And that's going to expand into something else where more wants are met, more considered ones, right? After being for how long, as we know, this has been, I say, a pregnant pause. After being for such a long time in this space, I think that time allowed me to really know what I actually do enjoy without looking at resources. So it grounded me with what I actually do enjoy. So that when the resources come in now, I'm like, okay, it's not going to spin me out because I am so grounded now. And okay, I know that those things aren't of interest to me and they don't do well for me. And I do well in this, and this is where I thrive, and this is what I really enjoy. And So yeah, I think that's what's still not sure. I'm still on the journey, but I think that's what it's showing up to be. And then I think the resources expand and expand more the more I'm able to steady myself and know more of what I enjoy, without it being money focused. Right. So that when the money does come, I'll be like, yeah, I don't need 20 million cars. I need this car. I like this car. But I want to make sure I like I like sharing with people. I like having a loving home, lots of good food. I like communion with others, connection with others in safe, genuine, authentic, loving interactions and experiences. So how would I foster this if I had this money? Mm. How would I contribute to others' joys as well as mine? Stuff like that. It's not like, I need all these clothes and all these bags. All of that is, you know, those things are okay, but they don't really bring the depth of joy. And I know, like, I kind of have a more solid aspect of what brings me joy or the things that I want to experience. Mm. So I think all of that was needed, and that's why it's there. But I still am not 100% sure. That's why I still need to work on my confidence. That's how it's playing out for me. I feel 95% sure though. Like, it feels like that's how it's moving. So yeah, so I do have those abs because I'm like, okay, I forget about this way that I've seen, and I pull out and see how it's expanding and how it's moving, and I forget I'm in it again. And I'm like, I still don't have what I want. And all these things I saw and I understand, I don't see it in my physical reality. So what if all of this is just BS? And I really need to get back to efforting and actioning, which I am good at. I am good at efforting and actioning and staying focused and going for a goal. I can do that with my eyes closed. And I know it takes time and I can grind. I can grind. But this new way of being is allowing things to come to you in the right time, in the divine time when you're ready, and trusting that it will, which is completely different from how I am used to accomplishing and achieving. So because I don't see it yet, I'm like, this is, what is this? I need to go back to this because I know this works. So I have those ebbs and flows. I forget, or I get lost in this fear of this is not real. I really need to get down to the heart of it. And then I remember, no, I see it opening. I see things flowing. I see my needs being met in a beautiful, effortless way, probably not how I would have wanted it met prior. But in this way, it's teaching me how, in little steps, to how the process works in order to expand it. So I do go back and forth with that. So yeah. So I do have my ebbs and flows, but I was saying, like, when I do ebb now, it's a little gentler and I'm able to counteract it a lot faster. So yeah, so those are my insights. Those are my insights. Um, those are my insights. The awareness is the seems to be a major part of the transmuting of what needs to be healed in order to move to the next way of being. And that is to allow it to occur in its own way. And it occurs in a way that you understand specifically for yourself for your own expansion. It's very specific to you and how you understand. And then it's so beautiful how it occurs if you just let it be like that and not put it on a timetable. So, yeah, so where's my sovereignty in this? I think my sovereignty is in wanting the healing and asking what needs to be healed and asking for it to be healed, and then allowing my divine aspects to assist me in the healing in the best way for me to understand it and integrate it. So yeah, my sovereignty is in the desire for it and the intentioning and the asking, and then the allowing it to occur in the best way for me, in the best time for me, because it really is a more fun and beautiful and joyful experience when it happens that way, although I forget a lot of times that it is so. And actually like doing like efforted steps to create that, right? I really don't think anyone else too can do it for me. It feels like right now at this stage, that allowing my divine team to help me understand it and integrate it feels more enjoyable than having someone else clear it in their way. I I don't really know how to explain that. It's just that understanding I got with my childhood lessons and the teachers I had. When I say teachers, I mean like family members that brought those lessons through. I'm so grateful it was them. And I don't think anyone could have given me that grace, that love, that view of it, but myself and my divine team. So I don't know, but I do think healers are needed. I think to help people get to their own way of healings. I don't know how that works yet. I don't think I'm supposed to know yet how that works because I'm still working on my own understandings and healings and loving of self. So I'm probably not at the stage of helping others, so I don't need to understand how that works and how they play into that yet, because my own healing probably isn't where it needs to be to step into that yet. Although I think it's where I'm headed. I think it's some of the dreams I've seen, it looks like I do have some aspects with helping others. I just don't know how yet specifically and how that works. Because this journey is so beautiful, self-directed. I don't know how I would interject in someone else's journey, because their journey would be beautiful to them and I wouldn't know what's beautiful for them, their divine team. Maybe I help them learn how to access their divine team. Because those are the type of teachers I have, people that teach me, the books and the videos I look at. Yeah, how it works, right? And how to connect. Yeah, maybe. I don't know yet. I don't know. Anyways, so that's what I've been getting the insights on. Um, being made aware of what I need to work on in order to expand into this new way of being, allowing it to happen on its own and giving me the time to heal and process. There's no rushing it. And there's no stressing over it. There's no efforting for it to get there. Just allowing it to unfold in the best way for me, and it has been. I do have my ebbs and flows. with the old way of doing things and this new way that seems to be teaching me how to do things, really holding my hand and started me from the bottom. Yeah, and remembering that it's two different ways. And I'm learning a new way and being patient with myself and trusting and having faith that it'll be okay. Um, yeah, and then these beautiful experiences of love and love for myself and love of the experiences I have had that have taught me so much and the teachers that have brought these lessons to me that have been in my life. So yeah, that's it for today. So we're gonna start reading. I don't know where I was. Hold on, guys. Okay, I'm actually where I'm supposed to be. Afterthoughts, a diary after Mary Magdalene. Put on my glasses. Let me get a sip of my little coconut water, trying to get off Coca-Cola, y'all. Okay, so let's start. Afterthoughts, a diary after Mary Magdalene. The following entries were all written the year after we received the manuscript and all the way up until publication. We felt they were pertinent as they show a process of what this material and our commitment to truth brought forward in our lives. Be warned, it isn't always pretty, but it's the truth. It is a diary of what happened for me in living this material the best I could. Back on beautiful Udish, just as Magdalene was nearing the end of delivering the manuscript, I went through a torturous process, and we felt it important enough to share to show that it isn't always the bliss that comes first. First, the man and woman come together, and out of their love, a child is born. In sacred relationship, there is always creation. A third energy is always birthed, and birth is painful. But there is a reward. A new life is created, whether it is a child or an energy. In our case, our word gets birthed into the world. I'm afraid love is like that. It's a process, like all of life. And you know what Pam said? It's the process that matters. By the way, Tom never saw what I was writing in my story until I was done and I read it to him. When I read him the first part about when I saw the little boy's face in the back of the bus, he cocked his head and interrupted to tell me that when he was really young, maybe 8 or 9, his family was traveling through Virginia along Route 1 on a bus. And he saw a little girl in a car. And the car and the bus traveled alongside each other. And he and the little girl stared at each other until the vehicles parted, and he never forgot her. It's a long shot, but I believe in long shots. An obscuration to flight. My first entry, December 2000, Oudish Island. The storm lasted at least 5, maybe 7 days. My storm lasted almost 14 days, maybe more. In my paranoia, I even wondered if perhaps somehow the external storm had been called up by my own boiling, stewing, festering, watery depths. Externally, the sea lashed out at the tiny island with a fury akin to my own boil. Hurricanes and such identified storms are horrific, but they have a beginning, a middle, and an end. The storm blew in and swirled and stayed blowing at my back, even now as I write. In the beginning, it was worse at night, so that days were still somehow manageable. Midway, though, it was constant, and no place to go in the limestone house to escape the howling. We put towels underneath the door to stop the scraping of wood and metal on limestone, a sound akin to fingernails on chalkboard, but the wind still found enough space to enter so that it whirled through the bedroom, in the bathroom, and resonated down the bathtub drain, creating such a banshee sound I could never describe. We were driven downstairs into the spare room, and it took the wind longer to find us there. In Marsail Fawn, it escaped the seawall in its fury through huge boulders across the street, aiming for the houses that encroached on the beach and bouncing them off their limestone like a mad bowler. They lay in such litter on the street that it was undrivable. Between Sabat and Marsail Fawn, on the road back to the sea, the waves leapt at such heights that they were turquoise at the very tops as they turned to froth, pounding the rocky beach, then dragging the rocks back in the depths from which they had escaped. I had never seen turquoise illuminated waves and hoped to never forget the color or the cause or the sound of thousands of rocks being dragged to shore and dragged back into the sea with each thrust of turquoise. Internally, I suspected this material and the timing of the presentation of this material. By that, I mean that we all have little fissures, mortared over, spackled, painted, a pretty acceptable color, with throw rugs covering even the hint of anything not perfect. A simple incident occurred, innocent and simple, but it dug down into my foundation and found a sympathetic fissure and began a process of disintegrating everything I thought I knew and believed. It grew and grew in proportion until every moment of every day was engaged in examination and torture of some aspect of this little tiny fissure. I do not write this, nor do I choose to detail this very personal incident, but to show how the process can work, and so that I did not rip up the very foundation of my being for only myself. What do you fear? It will come to your door if you choose the path of the initiate. I feared betrayal and abandonment. I was in one of the safest places in the world, surrounded by people who love and adore me, and my fears still found me. It was not fear of the wind. I only saw the mirror in its turbulence. And I'm certainly not saying I created the storm. I'm only noticing the reflection of its fury out of the calm. And I'm aware that it, like my storm, will have its season. The question for examination was what had caused the storm? Was there a change in the barometrics? And could I determine what had changed in the pressure around me so that my own storm, the internal storm, might have its glory and then allow me to go back to my blissful state of relationship? The incident had just occurred and it was insignificant, though it carried a message to my ears that sounded louder than it needed to have sounded. And why was that? Magdalene had just given the information about how crucial it was for the woman's floor to be strong and safe, how she needed to know that she was loved and that she was safe. And I had reveled in that information, I had reveled in that information, knowing how sweet and clear that message would sound to such weary, tired ears as we women have. I'm gonna highlight something. I knew we needed to feel secure to fully bloom. The poppy does not look the same that has been beaten by the wind and dashed against the rocks. But look at the tall poppy that has stood in the field alongside other such poppies, flanked by supporting stalks safely looking into the sun. with just the right amounts of moisture and sunlight and darkness. She is all she can be in that moment. How many of us are ever safe and secure enough to be all that we can be? I was told as a little child that I would have every experience a human could have, so that when I spoke, it would be from experience and that I would have something of value to say. It was strange. It was a strange thing to be told while sitting in the fork of a pear tree when you're 5 years old, and I never forgot it. And so when I talk about how you can't perform under the stress of abuse, I speak from the horror of experience. I spent 5 years with a horribly abusive man. The abusers were slow to appear in the beginning, or I tell myself I would never have gotten caught up in such a situation. And in the beginning, they were mostly verbal. Then he began to systematically cut me off from my friends, though I didn't detect any danger in that. Then, when I least expected it, completely out of the blue, not attached to an argument or disagreement, he would strike me, leaving me almost disbelieving the event had occurred. It was demeaning, demoralizing, paralyzing, and almost drove me mad. It is beyond dishonoring. The word dishonoring is so trivializing to the degree of shame and degradation that abuse creates. I examined every aspect of every move I had made prior to those blows. What had I said? What had I done? There was nothing I had done. Did I dream it? And I was much too ashamed to let anyone know it was happening. I was far too evolved to allow such behavior. And besides, thank you, religion, it must have been my fault. We are, after all, such wicked creatures filled with guilt and created in sin and shame. But that horrible relationship had ended with me still alive. I had put years and a lot of work between these incidents and me. And now here I am in the most amazing, powerful, loving, honoring, fulfilling relationship I have ever even read about, much less experienced. And I'm feeling frightened and insignificant and jealous of nothing. And every insecurity has moved into my head and taken up residence, haunting me, hounding me, all because of one tiny little incident. I should tell you that nothing happened. No one did anything to me. There was a simple communication in an email between Tom and someone else. And I took the message and extrapolated it. I boiled it, dissected it, reassembled it, recarved it, served it to all the voices in my head, and published my report. I was wounded, perhaps fatally wounded. But I can handle it. I'm an initiate. I'm living a dream life, I reasoned. So I tried to put a tiny, barely visible throw rug over the insignificant dent in the linoleum. And then the Magdalene delivered these words. The next level to understand has to do with the emotional tuning of the female initiate. For the female initiate's receptivity is dependent upon her emotional state. This is part of her nature and cannot be sidestepped if these techniques are to work. And she went on as if that wasn't enough to stir the pot. Essential to the female initiate is the authentic feeling of safety and love, or appreciation at the very least. When these are in place, something within her being lets go and allows the alchemy to occur. The alchemy is created by the joining of the male initiate's car and the female initiate's car. As they make love, the car bodies interconnect, and this causes the female to open her magnetic floor. I froze as she continued to speak. This is a strange term. It comes from the language used in the temples of Isis. The floor is the foundation upon which one stands. When we set something to be secure, we place it on the floor. So the floor was used as a type of slang within the temples, referring to the very basic piece that is required. So when I say the female's magnetic floor, I'm saying that this is the fundamental piece that has to occur. The light winds turned to gale force, the sea whipped, and the throw rug was blown away. Something greater than my timidity had ripped up my floorboards to inspect the tiny fissure. Where I want to go, there can be no weakness, no fissures, and no fears. I knew some of the secrets of the ages lay in this simple, short material given with so much power and clarity. I say the word secrets, and any woman reading this manuscript will tell you she knew this. But we have been shamed and quieted for so long that we have long ago stopped trusting those inner knowings. Magdalene was roused from where she lay within the soul she shared with her beloved Yeshua by Isis and Metatron and asked to come and tell us her story. And I had put a throw rug out to greet her. I have only two commitments. One is to the truth with Tom. The other is to look at all my unfinished business. I have called that forward now for almost 2 decades. I just didn't think I could possibly have this much unfinished business. The Feminist Rises, second entry, December 2000, Audish. This material was given over a period of time between Thanksgiving and Christmas of 2000. Mary Magdalene first came through one night in Zurich, Switzerland, in a small hotel in the old section of town. She continued her delivery as we zagged across the breadth of the Mediterranean, triangulated Sicily, and wound up living on Udish, the smaller Malta island. Magdalene completed by editing her portion herself word by word shortly after the above described physical storm passed just before Christmas 2000. She had chosen each word before she spoke it through Tom with a sense of power and clarity I had never heard before from any human or spirit. She had neither anger nor pity, nor any common emotion throughout the telling, but over one thing. When we spoke of love, she felt for the man, Yeshua. Her heart trembled. I cried every time she brought up how hard it had been to take the role of the initiate, for which she had been well trained, and still be a woman in love with a man, for which there is no training under the sun. And he was a man on a mission. How many of these have we known? And the job he came to do was more important than his love for her? How many of these have we known? And in the retelling, he is remembered as the Christ, the Redeemer, the only Son of God, and she is remembered as a whore, though it was she who filled him. How many of these have we known? And she, as the unlimited vessel of energy, gave him the strength to do what he came to do. And so he did it, and then he left. And my little tiny fissure cracked open the epicenter, and by Christmas, the fault line was above ground, visible to anyone who came near. Bah Humbug, third entry, December 2000, Udish or Oudish. December continued to howl across the sparsely treed fields of Oudish, and the chill wasn't only in the air. I was still hounded by the innocent incident of the email. It was a simple, innocent email to Tom, to and from an old friend. But it happened to be an old friend who'd had an agenda for Tom, one that included a little more than friendship. This person had hurt me and almost cost us the relationship. I couldn't understand why this person was still in our lives, since the original experience had brought us such intense anguish. A sacred relationship, the way I want to do it, the way I believe it must be lived, must be the most important process ongoing in life. reason is out. If I am God and my mate is God, then why would any God outside of us, any practice, any devotion, any being, anything, demand greater obedience than our love? It must be night and day, always at the heart of life, always the most important aspect of life. It must stay in total truth. No dust can be swept under the throw rug. No throw rugs covering the slight tiny floors. And unless it is held as the most valued and sacred experience, it will dwindle and succumb to the tendency of all relationships. This is the truth I hold in my heart, and it is the truth which no man I have ever known can handle or remain in honor to. And here I was, back at the point of truth. I felt like a jealous, scorched woman, a banshee with no compassion. I felt I looked like that. I didn't really think that, I didn't really think that's what was going on, but so deeply devalued in my self-esteem that I questioned my intuition. Still, if it were not so, if Tom really loved me, would he still be communicating with this person? He knew that communication with this person hurt me. Why would he continue the communication? Perhaps I should leave. I am impossible to live with. My price is too high for anyone to pay. I demand too much. I give no slack. These are all her little thoughts she's having, okay? I have no slack to give after where I've been. But who on earth can stand up to the demands of an unrelentingly demanding woman who carries a picture of relationship with colors from another universe? When I cannot find the old governors of my thoughts and mouth, the tricks of the Southern woman have deserted me, and I cannot help but say what I think. Goddess, help me. Perhaps I should leave. Audish is said to be the island where Odysseus was held captive by the siren Calypso for 7 years. I am captive here. There is nowhere to go. It is a tiny island dotted with fields and Catholic churches and the sweetest, most honest people you will ever meet anywhere. There's no escape. I am trapped here in my swirling. Perhaps I should leave. Tom doesn't need this after what he's been through. He needs peace, not a shrew. I am a shrew. But I'm right. I'm a right shrew. Sigh. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? But at what price does happiness come? We went for a long walk. It was time for truth. Each farmer on our dish has a tiny little plot, maybe an acre, maybe a half acre. They are all appropriately fenced, as it were, in oddly shaped walls of stone, piled high through the generations, each generation unearthing small boulders that continually rise to the surface and adding them to the stone wall. So the terrain is zigzagged by these stone walls like patchwork lines on a quilt of sorts. I am a steam kettle, appearing quite quiet and passive and easy. But if something happens, like the email, I used to begin a slow boil, which took years to turn to steam. Now I just boil over right away. And when I hold that boil, I mean, I can really hop over something that seems mildly out of place. I don't mean to. I can't help it. I don't see other dimensions, but I don't miss an energy exchange on this plane. Too many years in politics, I guess. I don't miss much happening energetically around me. And I could feel the difference in the air between Tom and me since I questioned this email. He was withdrawing from the dark, moist, and dangerous abyss of the feminine. Her price was pretty high these days, I had to admit. It demanded total commitment and total truth, which he also demanded of me. We began to talk about it all. I thought I would die. I had to admit I was jealous of an email. I felt disrespected. I felt hurt and abandoned by an email. I thought I would die. I mean, when you cut yourself wide open for another person and talk about your fears, your jealousies, your inadequacies, your weak flaw, you just know they can't handle it. You know your stuff is too ugly, too confining for anyone to stomach. Besides, surely your stuff smells like tuna fish. No one could possibly love you through your truth. I was afraid that it might appear that I was confining Tom, and for whatever reason, I cannot bear the thought of anyone ever confining Tom Kenyon again. I had refused to be like the people around Tom and Pam died, all vying for confinement rights. But Tom didn't see agendas like I do. He sees deity and spirits and beings from other dimensions, and he talks to them like I talk to a waitress in a restaurant. I see agendas in politics, and my prophetic abilities are limited to the human beings around me. I hear what they don't say, and I see what they don't think anyone sees. I understand this lady. I feel like I could do this too. You know, like I can read people what they didn't say. You know what I'm saying? I could see their true motives, and I'm cursed with feeling crazy over my oddly unappreciated ability. I saw the meaning behind the message, behind the written words in the email. Not the one Tom wrote, but the one he received. We walked for hours that day over walls and fields, all the way to the cliffs of Dwajra, a dizzying ledge of limestone hundreds of feet above the Mediterranean. I knew Tom was thinking how nice it would be to live alone. I was thinking how nice it would be to live alone. This was work. But the love is so intense. He takes my breath away. We talked it all over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Exhausted from the walk and the talk, we turned to head back. Perhaps it was time for us to part company. When I spotted something on the ground at my foot, it was a carved pottery shard of some kind, almost buried in the sand. It had a design like a petroglyph on its surface. Tom and I both stopped to look at this treasure. I reached down and dug at it with a rock, and it yielded to my pressure. We found an ancient symbol from one of the hundreds of goddess temples all over the island. Perhaps a message for this place where we were stuck, to love or to leave. We almost fell down laughing when we brushed it off and discovered not an ancient amulet or shard of pottery, but the cover from a clutch pedal left in the sand decades ago. Our ancient pottery shard was someone else's old clutch pedal cover. And so we took it as a great sign and we shifted into neutral. We had each told our truth. We stood there in the light of that long day and just stopped. We went home and just held each other. In truth, in total truth, no one has ever stopped my heart like Tom Kenyon. And he will learn to see agendas, and I will learn to see other dimensions. But if I don't ever see other dimensions, it's okay with me. I've got Tom to tell me the truth of what's out there. And he doesn't ever see other people's agendas around him, and that's okay. He's got me, and as long as he appreciates my gifts and listens to me, and I appreciate his and listen to him, we have a total sight between us. Magdalene was right. Appreciation at the very least is required. Hauntings, fourth entry, July 2001, Paros Island, Cyclades, Greece. Sorry, guys. I am haunted by many things as I contemplate placing this material in the world at large. The responsibility of putting such information into print weighed so heavily this particular night that sleep deprived me of her peace, and I find myself sitting at the small kitchen table, palm top in hand, so to speak, braving the mosquitoes of the Cyclades. They are small, but ominously dangerous in their predatory nature. Harmless, they are deadly in their silence. They are truly among the little things that can really make a point in life. The Magdalene consciousness is upon the earth plane now. As we realize the truth of emotion and physicality of passion and welcome the return of the feminine principle, in your journey, you may encounter some of the many other visages and the voices claiming to speak of the Magdalene or even to be her. They tell different stories, these different Magdalenes. Such channels I have great respect for have been given the story that she and Joshua were together in as consorts but had no children. Some have been given the story that there were many children. Some say that Yeshua died on the cross during his crucifixion and that Magdalene carried on the teachings alone. Some versions say he did not die on the cross, but lived with her for many more years, and that the crucifixion was nothing more than a hoax to earn his freedom, a real crock of fiction. Some say he ultimately died in Masada during the siege. Some claim his resting place is clearly marked in India. One recent version says he was buried in southern France in the Pyrenees. Some channeled versions of the Magdalene story say she lived her life teaching in her own mystery school in southern France and that her bones lie there. Others say she found her peace, if you will, in England. Others say there was no such one person as Jesus Christ, but that he was a composite of many different teachers of the time, edited together purely to create a new religion to quiet the masses under Roman government. I am not bothered by the discrepancies, though I admit it would be far simpler if everyone were telling the same story. But they do tell the same story over the significant issues that this Yeshua and his Magdalene were consorts, and that the church purposefully and maliciously mistranslated the word for whore to dismiss the Magdalene, to impale all her femininity with that brand, specifically to further the patriarchy and discredit passion, so that, as Magdalene put it, no one would accidentally stumble on the great truths that lie in passion. What matters to me in this manuscript is the obvious power in her words and the transcendent and palpable love she has held throughout all time for her beloved Yeshua. In addition to that, the practices she gave create electrical shift. There is no doubt of that. As I detach myself from the elation and personal high derived from being present when this material was given, experiencing the Magdalene firsthand, feeling her strong and even presence, listening through tears to much of her story, I find myself only now, months later, able to do what I do best, be devil's advocate, questioning it and its relevance today. She had chosen each word with such calibrated precision. She was back to tell a story and to set the record straight. Much of what she had to do was clearly the misinformation, the lies the church perpetrated. I'm sorry, much of what she had to do was clarify the misinformation, the lies the church perpetrated. And Yeshua had used language that had a meaning to only a certain few. Language which, when taken out of context, became supportive of something in total contradiction to what he really meant. Just sitting down with the master and having some bread and a glass of wine had gone from being something he loved to do with people to eating his flesh and drinking his blood. And the church calls others pagan. And how would we avoid doing the same? How could we choose language and supportive commentary that couldn't or wouldn't over time be used to misconstrue the real meaning? Are people capable of understanding and choosing the divinity of sacred relationship? Or will they think this is just a little manual on how to use sex to gain powers? What about her role in the light of feminism? Was she just another woman who gave her power to a man? In this case, literally, gave her power to a man who could not have done what he did without her contribution. What do you think is a sex manual or the story? Sorry, if you think this is the fact manual or the story of a woman who gave her power to a man, you have missed the point and will surely not attain the possible. This is a story of what Magdalene called sacred relationship and the internal alchemy is possible within the safety and devotion of sacred marriage. We have been as careful as we could in choosing words with consideration to their long-term meaning. We have tried not to use words or slang used within only certain schools of metaphysics, hoping that they will not be misconstrued, at least within our own lifetime anyway. Beyond that, we can do nothing but intend truth and illumination. Okay, so I'm going to end there. And next podcast, we will start the next section called Pondering, the next diary section. It's called Pondering. I almost finished the book. This was a really good book. Did you guys enjoy it? Anyways, I hope you guys have a great weekend. It's Friday, guys. I hope you have a great weekend, that you know you are loved, that you know you are loved, and that you take time with yourself and deepening that love with yourself. I wish for you all the things that bring you joy and wonder and love and laughter and make this life oh so magical. Anyways, guys, I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great weekend. I always, as I said the last time, I love the divine blue healing light that I've been shown. I just love imagining it coming through me. And also the rainbow iridescent unconditional love of light. If this helps you in your healing and you're feeling with unconditional love, please, I hope and wish this for you, for your highest good and the best way for it to help you. If not, because you have your own imagination and you imagine things best for you, I hope you experience your own healing visions and your own visions of unconditional love in your own way. And you get to experience it in the best way for you, for your highest good as well. From source to you. Anyways, guys, wishing you such a wonderful, love-filled, laughter-filled, fulfilled weekend. Have a great time. Bye.